And at 10, Marco Polo. Honestly, this is just because it's kind of on my bucket list. I want to play a game of Marco Polo in the ball pit a la Sheldon Cooper and Leonard Hofstadter in Big Bang Theory. When Sheldon broke into like a children's play place at like 3 a.m. to use the balls in the ball pit as like hydrogen atoms to like visualize stuff. It's the same episode as the classic I don't need sleep, I need answers meme, which will honestly be me when Security Breach comes out. That's gonna be interesting. Oh man, I'm gonna recreate that meme a whole bunch. At the end of the episode though, Sheldon is shown running around the ball pit, popping out behind Leonard saying bazinga, and then going back down into the balls before popping his head up again behind him. This is what I want to do in Security Breach. I don't even need a full-on minigame. I just need this to be a actual mechanic in the game, and I'll be happy. Like if Chica follows us into the ball pit, like we should have the option to like, I can't believe I have to say this, but like hide in the balls, which sounds weird, but technically that's what we were all doing before we were born, am I right? Well, I mean half of us anyway. And at 9, hide and seek. Okay, technically this number is cheating because the whole point of this game is basically will be to playing hide and seek with these animatronics, but I mean like something to do in the day part of the game, because like while yes the story picks up at night and that's what we've been seeing in the trailers, we'll need an explanation as to why Gregory didn't leave with his parents and why he's at the place alone. Additionally, it appears like we'll be having a day-night cycle to the game, so we'll need something to do during the day, even if it's only for the first few minutes of the game. So will we find ourselves playing hide and seek with other AI children? And that's why we end up being separated from our parents, because we're playing hide and seek. Plus, it would also serve as an easy way to introduce the mechanics that we'll be using throughout the entire playthrough with this minigame, because again, this whole game is basically going to be hide and seek. So honestly, I think it's a pretty solid idea, but knowing FNAF, it's never what I think. It's a day off at least. And at 8, tag. I know you may think this sounds stupid, but tag or some game like that with these animatronics would be interesting as hell. With the various different animatronic abilities from the looks with Monty's strength and most importantly Roxy's speed, classic children's games like tag or hide and seek like I just mentioned are definitely a fun addition. And let's be real, okay? Kids at a Pizzaplex like this are going to be playing these games anyway. And if FNAF wanted to finally introduce a multiplayer element to this game, this would be the way to do it. By having like crab style minigames with classic children's games. Maybe having someone be an animatronic instead of a kid. Like whoever is it would be Roxy or another animatronic, each with a different ability or something. Or in hide and seek, whoever is searching is also an animatronic. I mean, I don't know. It could be a good way to introduce a multiplayer element to the series that's been understandably single player so far. However, with Vanny saying that she has all of our friends in the first FNAF teaser ever for this game, could that really have been Steel Wool hinting at multiplayer minigames online? And at 7, Foxy Repair. Out of all the animatronic repairs, the Foxy one has to be the most horrifying. He is constantly moving and this is by far the most intense version of any animatronic repair. You need to keep an eye on Foxy at all times while searching for specific colored batteries, and if you mess up or he punches you in the face, he disappears and then just comes sprinting at you like me when I hear that there's a deal on Steam. When I hear that, I book it home, man. I need my cheap games. It's still horrifying no matter what, and while yes, it may not be an instant jump scare, you can see him running at you and is one of the worst things in the world. Plus, in blacklight mode, he's all burnt up and destroyed, and it looks like the devil has come through and he's using Foxy as a meat suit. He's glowing and just burnt, and it's so intense. Just don't play it, okay? Don't play this game. I'm traumatized. And at 6, animatronic boxing. Like, okay, I doubt this will happen, but I really straight up just want to have a full-on fight scene between us as Freddy and another animatronic. Probably Monty because he seems to be the strongest character, but I picture a fight like Godzilla versus Mecha Godzilla. I want it so bad. It's certainly an interesting thing that I want to happen, and based on what we've seen in the various trailers, it's not going to happen at all. But this is the kind of thing I want from a FNAF game. I want to beat the ever-loving snot out of these animatronics with my own bare hands. Or I guess, in the case of a Freddy mech, my own bare hands. Get it? Cause he's a bear? No, okay, fine, just be lame. But like, imagine an animatronic boxing ring with like the kids on the outside cheering while we watch animatronics tussle or even like do it ourselves. That should be a whole separate game on its own. Great, now I want someone to make a FNAF Rock'em Sock'em Robots. If someone's doing that on Etsy, I'll buy it. Halfway through into number 5, Corn Maze. Corn Maze is one of the most stressful games in all of FNAF VR, compared only to the likes of the hallway from that very same DLC. Corn Maze revolves around you walking through a maze made of walls, not corn, for some reason, in search of colored keys. These keys unlock their respectively colored gate and result in you winning. However, Grim Foxy is chasing you and he always knows where you are. The only way to really get him off your tail, pun intended, is to hide behind cardboard cutouts after he notices you. The maze is also filled with clusters of crows that will alert Foxy to your location if stepped on, which will result in him finding you faster, as well as scaring the living hell out of you. This game, in the same vein as the Help Wanted flat mode version, but controlled with a joystick and buttons, would work incredibly well, and you wouldn't have to find all 4 keys to unlock a secret one. You just don't have a secret one, and you're golden. Man, I'm a genius. And at 4, bowling. Bonnie seems to be not appearing in Security Breach, however, they'll be there in spirit. They'll also be there as the mascot of the bowling alley that seemingly appears on the upper level of the Pizzaplex's main area. I don't expect this to be like Wii bowling, although that would be fun as hell, but instead, if there is a bowling minigame, I think it would just be like a simple, like, you grab it and then you throw it and just kind of hope you hit some pins. Nothing too extreme with like a scoring system or anything, but just some small time fun, you know? Like how if you're playing Gary's mod and a map you're playing on during like TTT or something has a bowling alley kind of thing, like TTT underscore or bowling alley, for example. Man, I just realized how few people may actually know what I'm talking about and know what Gary's mod is, and not know the joy that is Yugs Cast TTT videos. Wow, I feel old now. Let's move on before my hair turns gray on camera. Jeez. But ultimately, in number 2, mini golf. Thanks to trailers and some stills from promo images, we know that Montgomery Gator is going to have his own form of mini golf course in the Mega Pizzaplex, meaning hopefully that we'll get some form of mini golf minigame. Mostly because with everything being shut down, I need my ability to mini golf. Plus, every girl I suggest it to ends up ghosting me. So if I can't do it in real life, I better damn well be able to do it in Security Breach. I mean, the game was delayed not only due to COVID, but originally because Steel Wool wanted to make the game bigger than Scott's original scope, right? So maybe they figured if we're adding all these sections, maybe we should make them into playable mini games and like a special daytime Pizzaplex minigame menu or something from like the home screen or something like that. I feel like that's an incredibly missed opportunity if it doesn't happen. If this game is going to cost as much as I think it will, given the current retail price of new console games being around $80, this better have hours worth of content and replayability, okay? We better get Golf with Friends FNAF Edition out for this, basically, okay? And if not, Steel Wool and Scott, you can buy that idea off me, okay? Just like DM me on Instagram. Link is in the description. Finally, and at number 1, laser tag. Much like the mini golf, we know there's going to be a section for laser tag inside the Mega Pizzaplex. So, considering how there seems to be a day and night cycle, we better be able to play laser tag during the day or I'm going to be mad. This is like the one thing I want in this game. I don't care if we don't get go-karting or mini golf or 8-bit mini games, okay? As long as we can play laser tag, I'm fine with it. Yes, I'm that guy. I love laser tag. I grew up playing it. And if COVID wasn't a thing, I'd be a regular Barney Stinson playing it every other weekend, okay? Laser tag is like my favorite thing. It's fun, active, and I get to take out my anger by shooting lasers at little kids, okay? And especially given what the FNAF series has done to me, I think I've deserved that, okay? I think I've earned it. In my hometown, there was like this laser tag place called Laser Extreme, okay? And it was my favorite place to go. I'd go with my friend Nick, and we'd wreck kids using superheroes as code names, and then I'd go with my friend Cameron, and then that's where he got his nickname of Spike, and it's become a meme at this point, okay? Those were the days. It unfortunately closed, and I think it was partially due to COVID. And Laser Quest blows. It's bad, okay? Don't go to Laser Quest. But being able to play against animatronics in the Mega Pizzaplex will make me happy. It would be like the pirate ride in FNAF VR. It's all I would do in that game. And a 10 pirate ride. Given that this is already in the style of a game in FNAF VR, certainly does help in porting this to an arcade cabinet, but there would be some things that they'd have to change, like turning it into one of those like classic shooter arcade games where the screen scrolls as you fight off bad guys threatening innocent civilians, and it tells you what to shoot and what not to shoot. Yeah, that's the kind of arcade game I see this as, except instead of scrolling sideways, it moves forward like the cart does in the ride in FNAF VR. It could just be a simple aim and shoot kind of thing, but maybe they could add some animatronics sneaking in and throwing some cake or pizza at you that you'd have to shoot to block. This would be in order to end the game early, so that you'd then have to pay more tokens, or just straight up money depending on how the system was run. But based on modern practices, I think it would be a token system because it probably would end up making them more money in the long run. And 8 plush babies. The 2 plush baby mini games where you have to look around for the various somehow animated baby plushes before they get to you is an interesting concept that with some tweaking could work for an arcade cabinet. It would require a joystick as the spotlight following the joystick, you just move it around to move the spotlight, but it's something that I think would work kind of well, but it would have to be done right. I don't know exactly what done right would look like. I'm an ideas guy, okay, I'm not a programmer, but I'm sure that it wouldn't be that difficult to work out, I hope. It wouldn't be as detailed or scary as the main minigame in FNAF VR, but it would still be something that would work decently well. It may not be the most popular game at the arcade, but that's why you have multiple levels, including the hard mode one and the DLC one in the pumpkin patch. Plus, that's why it's only number 8, because it would be harder to get done properly. And it's 7 8-bit minigames. The 8-bit minigames are a staple in the FNAF community, and are some of the parts that reveal the most lore about the games. The 8-bit minigames revealed the first victim, the detailed origins of the puppet, and even what William did after killing Charlotte. The minigames have been incredibly helpful in figuring out the absolute bonkers lore of the series. The 8-bit minigames were even crucial in finding the good ending of FNAF 3, since we had to complete the Happiest Day minigame in order to get the good/canon ending and release the souls of the original 5 missing children. So these minigames have become an integral part of the series, and to omit them from this game would be a mistake and a disservice to the series that has been featured alongside God of War and Call of Duty because of the lore that built the fanbase. So there better be one, at least. And it's 6 Claw Machine. This is pretty dark, but you people seem to love that kind of thing. So what about a claw machine that was designed to be Baby while she was grabbing Elizabeth? Is that too far? Like a claw machine that's built to look like the baby animatronic on the outside with a window on the stomach where the claw would come out. And that's where the claw machine is. I think that would not only be a fun way to make it a FNAF themed claw machine, but it would also be dark as hell, and I love that kind of thing. Plus, it's about a fictional death, so it's not really distasteful. The idea also stands that this is something out of the box for this list, and I wanted to see what you thought about it, rather than just ranting on about the various minigames in the series for 10 minutes. However, it's time to get back to that, so moving on! Halfway through at number 5, Fun with Plush Trap. This is probably the most difficult game in the entirety of Help Wanted. You have to actively turn off your flashlight to have them move closer to you. I don't know why this had to happen, but this is one of the most terrifying mini games. Sure, it happens with Nightmare Balloon Boy, but for some reason I just think it's creepier with Plush Trap. He's a small little yellow rabbit with murder in his eyes and claws to do the killing. He's just so creepy. There was a short story written about him in the new FNAF books, and he's just a tiny version of Springtrap who is one of the scariest characters in the game. I don't know why I find him so creepy, but I do. Okay? I do. And at 4, Security Puppet. Ah yes, Security Puppet. One of the 3 mini-games required to play through to completion for the Lore Keeper ending of FNAF 6. And let's be honest, you should always play mini-games through to completion, otherwise it's just mean. The Security Puppet mini-game was pretty simple. Keep the assigned child away from the exit. However, the only catch is that there was no assigned child until the 3rd time booting up the game, where the child will already be outside, thus you failing. We know that this child is Charlie, who goes on to possess the puppet, and this was the only time we've seen a kill from 2 different angles. However, a game kind of like a Where's Waldo kind of thing with security bracelets seems like a wonderful and simple idea, especially when we know what the character is really trying to prevent. Would there be a green bracelet character, or would we only be looking for the green band? I don't know, it would be up to Scott. Also, Scott, or I guess whoever takes over next, please do this. Getting close to the end in number 3, go-karting. Roxanne seems to be the speed demon of this game, only further enhancing her connection to Foxy. However, with this comes her go-karting track, which we've seen briefly in one of the trailers from what I remember, but we've also gotten a closer look at with some promotional photos unlocked during Daco's charity livestream. But come on, a freaking go-kart racing track would be absolutely incredible. This FNAF game has the ability to cross so many genres if they do this properly. Like, if things work out and they play this right, Security Breach could open a whole load of people to the world of FNAF just because of the variety present within the minigames. And if you need to play through the story to unlock those minigames, then they have to get immersed in the story and the gameplay of the actual series as well, and not just playing it like for like Mario Kart but FNAF. Imagine that though, like a Mario Kart FNAF where you play as like Gregory or other various animatronics, even unlocking them as playable characters as you progress through the story. I mean, it's probably not going to happen, especially not like that. And we're probably hyping this game up way too much for it to reasonably meet expectations, but that's what happens when you get a fan base that's absolutely this freaking bonkers, Scott. So, Good job. Maybe you should have just given us the lore straight up. Penultimately, in at number 2, Midnight Motorist. Midnight Motorist is another one of those games that you could test in FNAF 6 that just feels right. The game is pretty simple, but it's certainly exactly what we need in an arcade cabinet at a pizzeria. A game for the short attention span of a child. You simply drive around until you run into 3 things, then boom, it's game over. You get tickets based on how far you went, or it's one of those lame ones where you don't get tickets at all because there's no feasible way to calculate that, which would also be kind of understandable. Or you just get 3. You know the ones I'm talking about. Midnight Motorist would make a good arcade game aside from the whole yellow guy mustard man debacle, so cut that part out and you're in the money, baby. Go forth and collect the king's tax of tickets and tokens. And finally, in at number 1, Fruity Maze. Fruity Maze, I think, was the obvious first choice here because while yes, the game does progressively get darker, it doesn't have to. You can stick to the original level 1 Fruity Maze motif, add a proper goal or objective, and then have a weird FNAF version of a Pac-Man style game. Boom, you're done. Just don't make it depressing and allow the player to continue as long as they can, just like a normal Pac-Man game would work, and you're good. And you're golden. Golden Bonnie, dare I say. And maybe throw in a certain level where it's like the messed up dog, flowers, and blood kind of thing just to make sure it's authentic, because knowing these comments, you'll all be disappointed and even get mad if these things don't turn into something dark and twisted. I don't know about something like new being added to the series in the real world, but I don't know if you'd want that to be twisted and disturbing, like if it was a new arcade game, for example, but something like Fruity Maze, you'd insist on it. So yeah, I know you're all sick, and I love you for it. Starting us off in at number 10, FNAF 1 and 2. You can play through some of the original FNAF games in Help Wanted, however, these are actually terrifying. Aside from always having to keep the cameras on, you can also get jump scared by Foxy instantly if you poke your head out the office, and then you have to watch the animatronics walking right next to the door as they move past you into the office. While this makes it scary, the real terrifying part is scale. These animatronics are so freaking huge when you look at them from this perspective. When it's a stationary 2D camera and they aren't right next to you, it's fine, but adding that extra dimension really shows how small everything is in comparison, and it's evident from the main loading screen that you aren't as tall as you normally are. Being taller than your enemy can give you a sense of power. It's why people aren't scared in the first game. It's because of the sense of scale. FNAF 1 and 2 do it wonderfully in VR. Number 9, Funtime Foxy Dark Room. What's worse than being alone in a pitch black room, only being able to see where you are going with the aid of a camera flash? Nothing, other than the 8 numbers that come after this. The Funtime Foxy Dark Room is one of the most terrifying and difficult dark rooms in the game, hence why it's the last one you unlock. Nothing but you and James Charles looking Foxy trying to get you to say hi sisters. And the blacklight mode is even worse. The room is filled with all the other animatronics and it makes it extremely terrifying. The animatronics move with the light so you see where you're going, but so do they. It's one of the worst things in the game, and honestly I'm thinking I should have put it higher on this list, but I mean these next 8 are terrifying, man. They're freaky. Hardcore freaky. And it ain't trick or treat. This game is like if you want to go up to the house that clearly has someone sitting on a chair in a scarecrow costume who's waiting to scare you. That's how it feels. Because they all get some sick form of joy out of scaring children. Look, I won't kink shame on this channel unless it's this. Okay? This happened to me so many times as a kid, I'm deeply ashamed of how many times it got me. Well, basically, if you play this game, it's that same situation, only after opening the door. You ring the bell and then someone will come to answer the door. You must be really creepy and look inside the windows to see who is coming to the door and wear the right mask. Basically, if an animatronic is missing, it's the one at the door. But sometimes Mangle is there and blocks the way unless you wear her mask, and then you gotta you gotta look back at the window, you gotta take it off and stuff. It's terrifying, and they wait a good few seconds before opening the door, only making the anxiety worse. Plus, if it's not it, you don't see it, you just get jump scared. And it's 7, Happiest Day. The Happiest Day minigame is some of the most important lore and moments in the series, with the original missing children from the first missing children's incident from 1985 getting their souls released, showing that there are multiple ways to deal with what would later be called Remnant, the infusion of metal and soul, or rather, metal and extreme emotion, or maybe in Springtrap's case, metal. Get it? Because his human meat is also in the suit. Never mind. Either way, the Happiest Day minigame is not a simple one-shot minigame. There's some build-up to it. It's like the main story of FNAF 3, so seeing those various minigames and glitches come together into a single arcade cabinet would be a beautiful sight. Almost as beautiful as Glamrock Chica. I mean, as my idea for a real FNAF pizzeria, which you should go totally watch, by the way. It's in one of the corners. I don't know which one anymore. And at 6, entered Vent Repair. The Mangle Vent Repair I've played on the channel, but entered Vent Repair I was just way too scared. It's intimidating, okay? It's horrific. While in the Mangle Vent Repair, you can prolong the situation as long as you want by looking at Mangle, and the entered Repair, you have to be quick. And the puzzles are even crazier. You need to follow wires, hit the right buttons, and then move gears and pipes around to connect stuff. It's so confusing and intense. I don't want to solve the puzzles when I'm scared, okay? And I'll be scared the whole time. Have you seen me play this game? I get scared for every single little thing that happens, especially the fan. I can't even get through the freaking Foxy Pirate ride without going absolutely horrific, especially with those helpy sections. Yeah, that's right, I don't forget. Halfway through into number 5, arcade cabinets. With the Pizzaplex having their own arcade section, like basically any Chuck E. Cheese would, the idea of the arcade games, or at least a couple of them actually working, would be pretty cool, especially things like pinball or something. This could also be a great way to introduce the 8-bit minigames into this style of game, since Between Nights doesn't really seem like it's gonna happen when the game only looks like it's planned to be like a one night long kind of thing. And in addition to that, this would also be an interesting way to incorporate my ideas of how they could make like a real life Freddy Fazbear's, where they had like the custom arcade games about Midnight Motorist and Fruity Maze and whatnot. So maybe we'll end up seeing a couple of our old favorites in this new game. Hell, this could really just be the most successful pizzeria that someone made in Pizzeria Simulator. And then that's why there's a ball pit and like imagery of Helpy plastered on seemingly everything, which would be funny as hell. Like this whole Pizzaplex came from one person that Henry used to try to lure William to his death, and now William's just using it to get to Gregory for whatever reason. That'd be an interesting theory. While FNAF 3 may have less animatronics, it has more mechanics, introducing the separate air vent camera, the ability to hallucinate, and the systems that you need rebooting, and you have one hell of a mini game. With 5 nights of this crap along with the jump scares that come along with the ventilation issues, it can just be hard to keep your cool. Sure, you can keep Springtrap in the furthest corner, but if a system goes down, you're hella panicking, and it's clear why. This game is one of the scariest this series has released, with jump scares that don't kill you, so you need to keep on your game after the fact. Plus, the almighty Springtrap character coming after you. You're totally screwed if you think that this will be a normal FNAF playthrough. While things may be technically easier since there's only one animatronic and you can lure them around, it's still horrifying, and there is no way I want to play this ever again. Why do I play this game? Getting close to the end in number 3, deliver pizzas. The mini game that opens FNAF 6 isn't like anything else we've seen. Okay, well, it's kind of like Take Cake, but this time you're throwing pizzas at kids' screaming faces, and honestly, I love that idea. The fantasy of throwing a pizza in the screaming kid's face has been present ever since those little buggers in my old building bounced their basketball off my door and made my dog go absolutely nuts. But even without my secret thoughts, this would still be a fun arcade game, and I'm not letting you fight me on this. The difficulty of the game was already defined even before the real FNAF 6 started, and it was cool. But then throw in added difficulty of it being a full game and you have a whole new experience. At least, I think it would be at least. So, can't be sure unless we try. The hallway minigame is hands down the scariest minigame in the Curse of Dreadbear DLC. Having nowhere to go but forward towards all the most terrifying animatronics doesn't really help. You need to walk down a hallway where Nightmare Foxy will randomly appear in front of you with the lightning, which will make you need to stop moving. But you can't stop just anywhere because Bonnie and Chica are placed at the doors that go the length of the hallway on their iconic signs, of course. So if you get stuck outside on one of those doors, you're screwed. That kind of sounds easy though, right? Just wait between doors until you see Foxy and know he's not there. Well, guess what? Once you get halfway down the hall, Nightmare Freddy will decide to join the party and start walking up the hall, making sure you can't stay still for too long because he will catch up to you if you do, ending the game. This is just a whole mess, and it's one of the most terrifying things to play. Watching it is hilarious, but playing it is a hard no for me. That's a hard no. Finally, in at number 1, Nightmare Fredbear. The Nightmare animatronics are some of the scariest animatronics in the games, and while most of them get featured in Help Wanted, only Nightmare Fredbear gets his own game. This animatronic is the scariest animatronic in the game to me, especially because the one called Nightmare doesn't make an appearance. Having to deal with watching this towering monster of a Scooby-Doo looking guy running at you in order to eat your flesh is terrifying, and when he walks into the room if you're at the wrong door, holy sweet Lord Jesus. I was watching NVR play this and he literally started singing the Scooby-Doo theme song while trying to calm himself down, but it honestly only made it worse. You should have sung the one we all know, you know, the really catchy one. But what's new, Scooby-Doo? We're coming after you. Please do not copyright me either freaking way. This game is too scary. What's new, Scooby-Doo? Boom! Oh, what have I become? What has the series done to me?